Hello everybody and welcome back to League Unlock. Eric and Mark with you guys. Time for a little LCK power ranking action, and week 9 is not the final week of regular season. We got 10 weeks in the LCK and the LPL, so fret not. We got more power rankings coming your way, but for week 9, you got to talk about the bottom half first because that's where you got relegations going on, and there has been some movement for pretty much every single week in the bottom 3, save for Jin because they have been a staple ever since week 1, and don't worry, they're still there in week 9, fresh off losing to KT in a crazy series we'll get to in a moment. But Gen G does move up a spot from Afrika. They won that head-to-head, and they actually look the safest right now to avoid relegation, which I wouldn't be thinking a few weeks ago.
You know what? It's 2019. There are very few things in this world that you can come to count upon every single day. But here, you can always count upon Jin Air being number 10 in the power rankings. Thank you, bless God, Jin Air, for at least providing us this level of stableness here at the bottom here. But when you're talking about why we're getting excited here, but this bottom half of the LCK power rankings with relegation, that is that sign that, yes, the playoff spots have all been locked up, and then we can talk about that later here, because relegation here in Korea, this will be a big-time deal, and big-time deal with these 3 world's teams here in Afrika Freaks, Gen G, and KT Rolster fighting for their lives. And I think here right now, KT Rolster, they can find a way to squeak out of this spot here in relegation.
Yeah, right now we have them in that 9th spot because they only have 4 wins and they're fresh off. They got their Jin Air series, the second one.
Boy, did they ever.
And who cares about SKT Griffin? This was the series of the year in the LCK. SKT Griffin only had 1 base race ending. This one had 2 in both games. The fact that KT struggled this mightily against Jin Air is a bit of a cause for concern.
I'm going to be honest, I had more fun watching this series than I did the SKT Griffin one. And that's not to say I had a ton of fun and the enjoyment and the appreciation of the skill in the SKT Griffin series. This one was just wild, nutty fiesta time in the LCK. The casting crew, they were understanding that this is a fiesta. This was a fun one to watch from the fan perspective, but yes, this one did matter quite a bit here that KT got the win against Jin Air to keep the hope of escaping relegation alive for this squad.
Yeah, if they had lost this game, they'd only be 1 game up on Jin Air. What a sad idea that is to even think about. But now they have 4 wins. They have 2 series left against Hanwha and Damwon. I mean, Hanwha, they're not making playoffs. They're not getting relegated or anything. They're pretty much locked in that 6th spot. So KT needs a win, at least 1, to close out this split to fully avoid relegations. But right now, they're sitting in that 9th spot. But they do hold their own destiny.
Yes, they hold their own destiny. Grab that 1 win, and then probably if you can manage just 1 match in that game series in your final one there, that will probably be enough to save you from relegation.
But right now, they're in at number 9. We go to the top 5. These are your playoff teams. They're all locked in. All that's left to figure out is the seeding, where these guys are actually going to end up. And Damwon is a squad we thought would be climbing into that top 3, sniffing around with SKT and Griffin, but they've definitely fallen off a little bit lately.
Yeah, Damwon and Sandbox, you can throw them both into that equation of thinking of, hey, we thought these young guys making it in the scene again here, kind of not exactly the replay of the dominance that we did see from Griffin as a challenger squad making that debut in the LCK. We thought we would see something a little bit less than that with Sandbox and Damwon, and yes, we did see something less than that here, but we do have them fall into 4 and 5 because it is kind of more or less the old guard. You get SKT, of course, that's the old guard, but Kingzone, yes, for the last couple of years have been this top-level team here in the LCK, and even with this revamped roster here, the Deft and Pawn show, they are getting it going here and find themselves number 3 in the power rankings.
Yeah, the Deft and Pawn show is a throwback to a couple years ago on EDG, even KT at the start, but Kingzone, we've talked about them a lot, but I'm still shocked that this team has performed so well. We definitely didn't have them initially making the playoffs on these preseason rankings, which were, 3 months ago now almost at this point. But the subs for Kingzone, I think we always talked about Rascal being a guy that, you know what, it's too bad he can't get more playing time because he's backing up Khan, who, as we remember during his time on Kingzone, the majority of it was one of, if not the best top laner in the LCK, and Cuz was with that first installment of Kingzone that was still rock solid before Peanut came onto that squad. So I'm just happy these guys are finally able to showcase their actual talents.
Right, that is kind of the very nice thing with this Kingzone roster and how they've done well. And you really need to think to yourself, well, okay, heading into this year, where were the kind of the guys, you're right, these replacements that you thought would be able to make that next step in their career and produce on a level here in the LCK. You thought about Rascal, you thought about Cuz here, and then you thought about Haro going to SKT. We haven't seen Haro, but you have seen Cuz and Rascal do absolute work here for Kingzone. Major thumbs up from us. Good work from them.
And that's a squad that you've kind of seen them win in multiple different styles. They've had some great early game led by Cuz where they've taken over. And some of these games, even this week, they were at some serious deficits, even at 20, 25 minutes. And some of these team fights, they were able to turn around with either Deft popping off on, when Jinx is becoming more meta, that's going to be all the better for him. And then someone like Pawn is even playing these team fights super well. And the top two there, that's not changing. It's not going to change.
We were so close last week with the slip-ups from Griffin to being able to put SKT up top here, that final reign here for this championship squad. Nope,
yeah,
I
think Griffin heard the rumors of people saying that. They're overrated. See, they're not actually that good. They come back this week with a clean 4-0, completely dismantled Damwon and Hanwon.
And this is where Tarzan just checks on his boot to see that the ant is underneath it and goes, oh no, it's still there. And then there's that final stomp from Griffin to say, no, we are number one. We're ahead of y'all.
They'll be waiting in the grand finals for whoever gets there, but they still do have a couple more games. But for right now, Griffin and SKT still sit atop the LCK power rankings.